Okay, I know my videos aren't for everybody, and you know, I make them awful long. This is 2 days observation, and this is really meant for people that want to basically have the observational proof that something's going on this horizontal plane. And I'm really, you know, been observing this horizon for an awful long time, and there's things that I notice that, you know, seem to change all the time. One, a lot of times I get a lot of the mirroring. Again, this was one of those days where I did not get the mirroring. We had some overcast, some clouds in the sky, blocking things out, or blocking out the light, which I think the light plays a big role in what we see out on that horizontal plane. I look at it as if you get a mirage at the surface of the water, and that mirage is what actually hides boats. Also, there's a lot of mirroring that goes on out there, which is like, I look at it as the first part above the visible water line where the mirroring occurs, and then that mirroring deflects our vision upward, and also cuts things off. In other words, it's like the object or the boat is going under the mirror curtain. It's like a curtain, and it can hide objects. Because normally, if you've watched some of my videos, there's a lot of things that, if you pay attention to detail, that you'll see that really don't quite make sense. The scientific, I should say, just blab that we get from science of what's going on out on the horizon. So I do observational videos to, you know, prove my points and prove that what we are always seeing isn't what we're always told, and that's for damn sure. So I did a 2-day observation, not exactly at the same times, so you can't compare them perfectly, but there's a lot of things you can compare. My camera height is, well, basically my camera's sitting on a picnic table, and it's lowered down. My camera tripod is able to be almost flattened out. But it was kind of raining a little bit while I was there, so I wanted to make sure my camera stayed out of the rain. So in turn, I got under one of the little pavilions that they've got there with picnic tables on, flattened out or lowered out my tripod, and I do believe that you will see it in the video. I can't say my camera height is exactly the same height on both days, but they're pretty darn close. I figured that I had 2 to 3 foot drop off the seawall, and there was 3 to 4 feet up to my camera. And I'm going to say, you know, my camera was no higher than 7 foot at the most from the surface of the water. Maybe a little lower, but I didn't measure it, and it's kind of hard to measure your camera height and then how high off the water, you know, or how far down the water is from the seawall. It's kind of hard to give a perfect measurement of that. But I mainly went out here to do some sun videos. But when I started looking around, you know, I noticed that, wow, you know, I got great visibility again today, and I was able to see things that I normally see cut off. In other words, a lot of the boats that I normally see out here look like they're being cut off. And, you know, the Glovers want to say that it's being cut off by the horizon, that the boat is going over the curve. But there's more out there than what meets the eye. And that's what my observations are all about. Um, so, you know, I also get complaints about how I zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, and zoom out. If people don't like the way I do my own observations, because these are for my own personal use, but I do share them with people that want to watch them. Um, so, you know, if you don't like the way I do my observations, then you do not have to watch my observations. I don't think that my observations are for everybody because they are long, but you know, how else can I go out there and do observations without showing you the full observation? Um, so, you know, my outlook on it is if you want to learn from observing, you have to show your whole video. Now, I didn't manipulate um, any of this in my conversion program. Um, I didn't use any uh, enhancement. I didn't use any saturation or brightness. Um, but in a couple of spots, I did change um, my compensation exposure um, in on the camera, but not anything in the when I'm as I'm converting it to go onto YouTube. So I also know, hey, I'm not the greatest speaker out here, and I wing things. I put them up on the screen, and I tell you how I see it, and that's the best I can do. I'm not a great editor, as you well know. I don't try to put graphics and lines and whatnot in my videos. I try to just leave them raw and give them to you the way that they come off the camera. There are a few pictures in here that um, I did enhance, but only the pictures. Only because I think it was because the bird was moving. It gave a little blur, but when I enhanced it, it made them um, a little better focus on them. So that's why I did the pictures. Other than that, the video is left raw. I am gonna delete some of the audio, but I'm gonna leave some of the audio too, so that way you can hear what's going on in the video. It is awful windy. I've heard people tell me I ought to hang a sandbag and whatnot from my tripod, but my tripod is pretty darn heavy and it holds the ground pretty good, and it's not the tripod that shakes. I have a remote um, cam head on it that allows me to rotate left and right 360 degrees and up and down, 15 degrees down, 15 degrees up. So it gives me a 30-degree up and down motion of my camera without having to grab a hold of the tripod and move it up and down. But that's where I get the shake from. Now, I do show you some boats. I do show you some of the sun. I do put a solar filter on. I do take it back off so you can get the full blunt. But, if you looked at that little picture right there as I zoomed back, you got this almost pyramid shape, almost like two parallel lines. And I should have slowed that part down, but, if you want to go back and check it out. But if you take two parallel lines at 3 miles apart, and you're standing in the middle, 3 miles to the left, 3 miles to the right, eventually those parallel lines will meet in the middle. And if you look at it in my point of view, those two lines would almost create a straight horizon. But again, as you looked again just a little bit ago in the video, it showed more of a pyramid shaped look going towards the sunlight. All right. So that's one of the things that I observe. I try to pay a lot of attention to detail, and a lot of times why it takes me so long to even make my videos, I make it, um, believe it or not, um, I put it in slow motion, and then I watch it all in slow motion and try to pick out small details in it that I normally would not pay attention to because the video moves so fast. Like a lot of times I don't notice the sunspots on it, but when I get it home and I put it on my computer, these sunspots stand out. Why? Because I'm looking at a bigger screen instead of the, what is it, 2.5, 3-inch viewfinder on your camera. So it is very hard to see those sunspots when you're, doing the video and you're looking at that screen. It's tough. So again, I'm going to let this go back to the original audio here shortly and just let you listen. And every now and then I'm going to cut out part of it and chime in and give you my thoughts, my opinions of what I see. All right, thanks. I appreciate all my subscribers that do like my long observations. It inspires me to keep doing more. But I am at the point where I almost want to stop posting them on YouTube, make them unlisted, and then you as the viewer, as my subscriber, if you want, what you can do is send me a private message, ask to see my observations, and I'll be more than happy to give you the links to the unlisted ones. And you can use whatever you want off of them. I don't try to hold a credit or copyright on them, and I really don't care too much about the credit anymore. You can ask for credit, and whoever wants to give it to you gives it to you. Whoever don't. I'm sure there's people that have used my footage and never gave me the credit for being the photographer or video photographer, whatever you want to call me. Just don't call me late for dinner, please. I'm always hungry. So here I am taking the filter off, giving you the view that I would normally see on the camera. And that's one thing too. Sometimes when you're viewing the sun and you get to a certain zoom, the blue sky will almost appear as clouds, but it's actually blue sky. And that is deceiving because sometimes people think that those are clouds, but it actually is blue sky, and that blue sky will go behind or appear to go behind the sun. So these are little things that I pick up while doing my observations, and then looking for those small details. Also, when the sun gets to the left or right of the camera, you will see it also brighten up, and it bleeds right through any clouds that are in front of it. But when you center it, you will, all these clouds seem to reappear back in front of it. All right, well, here back to the original audio. Actually, wait a minute, I wanted to talk about this part. You see this bird rack that's way out there. I very, very seldomly catch this thing, but there it is again. And that bird rack is probably 7 to 8 miles offshore, so I don't know why I would be able to see it. And then off to the right of that bird rack, here in a second I'll slide over, there's another object out there that's another bird rack, and look at how prospectively how much difference the size of those look. So again, paying attention to these small details help. I was following this one boat, and even the size of that boat, you can still see the water being splashed up from the boat's wake, and you can also see the smoke that it's putting out through its exhaust. But I seen this other boat on even further out, and if you look at the mast and all, and even the bottom of the boat, you can still see that that boat is in the water. Also, what you see is that, like, the mast is almost invisible, where the camera, I mean, it's at such a distance, the camera can't render everything, and it's all due to the angular resolution that I'm getting. You know, if my camera can't render it, it can't put it on film. But you can obviously still see the whole back of this boat in the water, and you got to take perspective into consideration that the farther that boat gets out, the smaller it is, and the smaller it is, from the water to the top of the boat is going to also be smaller. Plus, you got to also consider that my camera is able to resolve the closer waves to the boat, and those waves are closer to me than the boat is. So again, the waves can block out parts of this boat. You'd have to picture it in your mind, and also think about you know, how far that boat is away. So you know, you got to take into consideration a lot of things about rendering, light, shading, how much light's coming into the aperture of the camera, which way the light source is from. All these things play a big role in how we see, and even how my camera sees. So my camera can't see forever either. So there's a point where it can't render the object, so the object starts to just fade away. Now too, you notice that there's no mirroring in here. If I had a lot of mirroring occurring or miraging going on, I would only see the very tip top of that boat and nothing else below it. And you can see this in a lot of my other videos. Now I put a piece of my cell phone footage in here so you can see where my camera's setting. Here it comes. So I wanted to give you a perspective of where my camera was, and you know, I even go up to the seawall, show you how far down the water is. Now, if I'm standing up next to my camera, it's about chest level, sitting on the picnic table there, maybe even a little bit lower, about right in the middle of my diaphragm. Then, you know, I look over the seawall, and I see that the water's 2.5, 3 feet down, and that's about it. So, you know, I just wanted to throw this piece in to give you an idea, like I said, give you a perspective of where I'm standing at, and also give you a nice view of that sun out there, by the way, or you know, the sunlight hitting the water. All right, I'm going to let this go back to the natural or normal audio again, and there's the boat. I even videotaped the boat, but I think I put this in a little quick. beep sound you heard was when I actually took the video with my cell phone camera. I should have split the film right there and stuck it in at this point, but I don't think that's a big difference. And I'm also talking right over the audio on this. So I just wanted to bring that to your mind, and then you'll hear the beep again when I shut the camera off. So just wanted to bring that to your attention too, that I misplaced my cell phone footage. You gotta see this sun. I gotta stop from this. Okay, here I got kind of a crappy focus, but hey, I make mistakes too, and I don't always get the best focus, and I'm willing to admit it, and I'm willing to show it. But you know, as I zoom back, of course, it comes right back into focus really nicely. Um, so you know, I don't try to hide anything in my observations, and that's why I make them so long. So you see pretty much everything. I don't cut much out. Um, I show you my good parts, my bad parts. To me, it's like, you know, I'm not perfect. Yeah, sometimes I do have some out of focus video. And in the second day part, um, I was using the same settings, the same focus, everything, and I just had a hard time getting a good focus. Even in this, I had a hard time getting a good focus, but um, I think you know, when you're zooming in on a light source and you try to focus in on it, sometimes it doesn't get a completely nice focus. Uh, but you know, the way I do it is I use the infinity mode. I zoom all the way out and try to focus on the farthest object, whether it be a cloud or something out there far away from me. Focus the camera in by pushing the picture button, and once I get a good focus, I hit the record button. And then when I zoom in and out, I don't have to worry about kind of keep focusing it in and out, because it pretty much keeps its own focus, which is nice. And that's why I use this method. You know, there's a lot of guys out there that want to use the manual focus, which is fine, but sometimes, like I say, I have the sun gleaming right back in my eyes because I do a lot of, you know, video on the horizon as the sun is out. and it blinds me from actually being able to see my screen really well to get a good focus. So if I can get a good focus in the very beginning, I think it makes all the whole video in focus. Here I'm showing you the corpuscular rays. The rays that look like they're going straight up in the air are not going straight up in the air. They're coming straight across the sky. And I do believe even some of the other ones in the background are going, I wouldn't say parallel to the ground, but you know, they are going downward also. It all depends on how you look at it. Now, of course, two people standing in two different places will see two different things, but basically they're going to see the same thing that you're seeing if they're within a certain distance of you. But somebody a mile or two away is going to see everything in their own perspective. But that doesn't make us live in a simulated world. It just gives somebody else that has a different angle view than you do. You know, when it rains and I see a rainbow, somebody else might not see that rainbow, depending on where they're at. And I usually find that you will always see the rainbow with the sun at your back, not in front of you with the sun in front of you. I don't think I've ever seen a rainbow that was in front of me with the sun being in front of it. It's always at your back. But I love doing the sun. That's one of my passions because every sunset is different. So, you know, I like what I do. I mean, actually, I love what I do. I'm an avid fisherman, but I've found another passion that I'm very passionate about, and I almost think I'm almost as passionate about this as I am about fishing. Now, you know, people say, oh, you're a fisherman, you go out and kill fish. Well, I'll tell you what, 99% of the fish that I catch, I release very carefully back into the water. And the only fish that I keep are the fish that I want. Or if I injure them where I don't think that they're going to survive, I do take them home, fillet them, and eat them. Or I give them to a friend of mine that, you know, has asked me to give them some fish. But, you know, again, this is what I like doing. I enjoy it. And I started doing it for my own personal research, my own personal observations. But, you know, I found that some of this stuff was so beautiful. And also when I started researching into flat earth, I thought it would be very nice to share my videos. And like I know that, you know, some people don't have 3 hours to sit there and watch a video. But, you know, if you have time to sit down and watch 3 or 4 Hollywood movies and want to, you know, shit on your brain with that crap, or would you rather watch a good observation of some natural footage? You know, and that's one of the things that I spend more time watching my own videos, even though I went out and seen it with my own 2 eyes. I enjoy watching my own videos. I sit back, relax, put them on my big screen TV, and I really enjoy it. It's pretty surreal, you know, when you're looking at real footage of a real horizon instead of a Hollywood background, green screen input. The way I look at it is this is much better, and I'm not corrupting my brain with a lot of Hollywood crap. Now, don't get me wrong, I watch movies too, you know, but I pick and choose what I want to watch, and I also know that you know, there's a lot of green screen technology that goes into a lot of movies, and I mean, you can pick it out. You can tell that they're not actually, the background is not actually where they're at. They very seldomly shoot anymore on natural areas. So, you know, mostly what you see is a lot of CGI. But mine is not CGI. It's all real footage. And like I said, I hope most people enjoy what I do. I don't have tons of subscribers. I'm a small fry out there, and I know it. And again, like I said in the beginning, I don't make really well edited videos. One of the things, like I was saying before, about where when you move your camera around and you see, how bright the sun is, and if it's not centered properly, you will get a lot of glare from the sun. The sun will bleed through those clouds, and you'll swear that those clouds are going behind the sun. But when you actually zoom in and get the proper focus, proper exposure, um, and if you're using a solar filter, you will definitely see these clouds going in front of the sun. Now, I took my solar filter off, and this is just the camera itself, but I did turn down my compensation exposure to where the light of the sun isn't quite so bright if it's centered in the screen. Now, you just seen how that light was burning through all of the other clouds, or bleeding through all the other clouds, and that's because I'm at a different angle to it. And at a different angle, the light is entering the aperture of the camera, just like our eyes, at a different angle, so you will get a different look of it. In other words, you will pick up more of the exposure, and then the sun or the light will be overexposed and just be a big, uh, you know, blob of light in the sky. Like right here, you still see that real bright sun. That's because the clouds that are around it are a lot thinner. Now, I think I set my, I just kind of put my solar lens over it just to kind of expose some of the clouds in front of the sun for a short second. I didn't screw it on, I just set it up in front of the sun. But as the sun gets a little bit lower, and you see as I move my light, you can obviously see these clouds in front of the sun. They're never going behind the sun, and I realized that, and when I first got into this, I swore to God I saw clouds going behind the moon and the sun. But as I found out more how to use this camera and learn how the exposure levels can really give you a different look, and if it's overexposed, the clouds will appear to be going behind the sun or the moon. But proper exposure, you will not see this. Now I'm going to go back to the natural audio again here shortly, so I might chime in again, who knows. Okay, I did turn the audio down by about 50% so I could kind of talk over it. But you notice how, as I zoomed back, how that whole horizon changed, and you know, the light, I got more light into the camera, so it brightened everything up. This is something that you'll notice, you know, as anybody zooms in and out with their camera, how much difference the light change will be. Even on a cell phone camera, I've seen people do that, and then they wonder why it did it. Well, it's because you're allowing more light into the aperture of the camera. It depends on your angle and what you are actually zoomed into, especially with a zoom camera. And you can see this rain out in the distance out there, which is, you know, I was hoping we weren't going to get poured on. Later that night, or later after I got home, it did rain a little bit. I even think I did a time lapse. Not sure if I put that time lapse in here or not, but actually while I was doing the time lapse, my camera got rained on, so I actually ran and got my umbrella and stood over it and let it finish its time lapse with an umbrella over it. But like I said, I'm not sure if I put it in this video or not, but we'll find out you know, when it gets to the end. I'm not going to stop and check right now to see if it's in here. I'm trying to hurry up and watch it. My wife wants to go over to her aunt's house to eat dinner. I don't think I'm going to be finished with this, but I wanted to try to start exporting it, or and get it to where I can put it on YouTube when I get back home. I'd like to get this thing done today. I know it, again, I know it's a long one, but it's going to take forever for YouTube to, you know, get it uploaded and going to allow me to have it published. All right. Again, I'm going to just kind of let it go back to the natural audio. This is where I got my tripod at, and it's real low to the ground, and that's the horizon. And I just wanted to document it, and I'm doing 10-minute time lapse. Alright, I started doing these time lapses, and I just used my cell phone to just kind of show you where I had my camera set on the seawall, how low it was. Yeah, it really ain't no big deal, but just want to show you the perspective that I get. And I did 4 10-minute time lapses, and then I went ahead and went home because the sun had already departed my view of sight. So all I was seeing was the remnants of the lights left in the sky. But I thought it would be a pretty good idea to just do 40 minutes of a time lapse and let you check out how beautiful they wound up looking. They are actually gorgeous time lapses. I mean, the color in them is absolutely wonderful. And you see how it changes, which is pretty cool, as probably some of the other clouds farther on the horizontal plane move and allow that more lighting to come in, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm multitasking. I've got my camera outside doing time lapses all day of the sun. Well, not all day. I've missed a few of them because I was busy with this. Forgot to set my alarm on my cell phone to tell me to go out there and restart the camera. But that happens. I really enjoyed doing this, so this is why I was putting this all together. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed that time lapse. It was absolutely gorgeous to me. And here comes the next day. Alright, here's a good example of water seeking its own level. This is one of the highest tides I've seen in a long time. And you can actually see this water is going to find its own level because it is running, spewing over the road and into this gully, or this part that's not locked in with the normal water of the Gulf of Mexico. So of course this water is filling in. And like I said, this is one of the highest tides I've seen in a long time here, other than, having a hurricane come along. I was talking to a gentleman today, and he was saying something about this is supposed to be some kind of a super tide or something like that, which I've never really heard of, but, it's pretty funny how, they come up with these names of things to accommodate for these, I guess natural events maybe. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to set my camera down and see if that kind of gives you an idea. I don't know what it's going to prove or nothing, but you can also look at the reflections in it, in the water. And maybe that will show something. I don't know. But, that is pretty interesting. The road continues on the other side. Let's see if I can zoom out there to it. No, I can't. Not unless I lift my camera up a little bit. And there's part of the road on the other side. But look at that reflection right there. As I zoom in on the reflection in the water itself, I don't know what to make of it right now. I'm trying to look at it on my little screen. Maybe it'll reveal something better, as I put it on my computer screen. But how about this, where we see the water going over the edge, and go back, and it's like a waterfall going off and filling in the other side. Now, of course, this thing over here has a, let me see if I can zoom in on it, has a culvert going over and filling up on the other side of the road over there. Right? I shaded this out so I wasn't getting run over as soon as this car goes by. And I'm going to have to shut my camera off and refocus it on the farther distance. But I'm going to see if I can. Okay. Let's see. I think it's going to blur out on me unless I... Okay, there's another car coming down the road. But you can see the water running across the road down there too. And I'm hand holding this thing, so excuse me. But you see the vehicle coming down the road going through the water here. And what it's doing is it's filling up from this side here that's connected to the Gulf over to this side that's really not connected to the Gulf. So it's, like I said, it's kind of strange that I'm seeing this, because I don't see this very often. Again, I'm gonna try to shut my camera off and see if I can't focus way down at the end of the road and see if I can't give you a better shot of this. All right, hang on. Like I said, I gotta watch out for cars running my ass over too. I don't need that to happen. Yeah, I think I got a good zoom and a focus, so let me zoom back here. And as soon as this one car right here goes by, I'll see if I can't step out here into the center of the road and film down there. Let's see what I can catch. But to give you a little view out here in the Gulf, wow. You see how that light is being refracted out there too. And I'm going to go over to Bayport and do some filming. Like I said, let me see if I can't set my camera down here in the road and zoom out. Now I'm going to have to tilt it up because this road has a few little dips and valleys in it. Yep, here comes a car. So let me get off to the side of the road here. And you know, it acts just like a mirage on the road, but that really is water down there. I think there might be a few places here it's not really water. It actually is a mirage. And that's the first place you can see there. I believe that is a mirage. As you can see these other cars driving through. We'll see what happens when he comes up to this next point and see if that's actually water on the road or just a mirage itself. I see it as a mirage. It's not really water. And we'll tell when this car goes through it. Yeah, see, it's just a mirage. I'm going to zoom back. And like I said, I'm going to head over to Jenkins, or not Jenkins Creek, but over to Bayport and see what I can catch there. But I am going to use the back of my truck and try to zoom out to this horizon to see what it might show here. I'm going to shut my camera off first, though. Okay, in this part right here, I was hand holding it, trying to get a zoom, but I realized once I started zooming out to that horizon that I stood in the same spot, and I noticed that the water went farther out than I normally could see it, because usually it was under the edges of these weeds out there, or these plants, and I could barely see it over those. So I noticed right off the bat I was getting a whole different view of the horizontal plane. So, you know, I was really intrigued to get my butt over there to Bayport and get in my little spot in the one park and film from there, where I could get really close to the water. But I found out something that was unexpected when I got there, and you'll see it here in part of the video. Alright, well, back to the regular audio. Oh, well, let me just do this to give you an idea what I'm looking at. And see how the camera has a hard time rendering even the visible water that's there. It really has a hard time doing it. It almost looks like one big mirror out there. Wow, it is hard to hold this thing steady. On a full zoom. Look at that reflected light, refracted light coming off the water. And that's what blocks you from seeing anything further. Can't make out what's out there in the water right there. I'll have to look at that when I get it on the computer screen and try to take some shake out of it or something. The force of that water. And I'm glad I stepped back, otherwise he would have swamped me. He brought water all the way up there. The thing was, I was just trying to show you that, you know, water does bend, but it only bends for certain reasons. It bends to find its own level over obstacles. So there you go. guess this answers my question about whether or not filming from here. This is normally where I film from, but as you see, we got water way up where I usually put my tripod. Very, very extreme high tide. He said something about it being a super tide and a super high tide. But this might be another place to get a little bit of a perspective. And even right here you can still see where the water is seeking its own level as that water continues to move in here. There's still another hour of incoming tide, so this water just keeps filling in and filling in. So it's pretty interesting how that's working. Huh. Like I say, I'm usually out there where these people are. Find them here. There they are. I'm usually out here, right where they're at, filming. But I'd be standing in water up to my elbows, or up to my waist, so you can see that how high that water actually is coming in. Alright, I'm going to go over to the fishing pier and do some filming from there. Okay. Here's my tripod. Set my camera on it. Look where the water is on this seawall. It's literally coming over it. So it's one of the highest tides I've seen. Let's see what I can see out there though. See how much of the bird rack it cuts off. I do have to shut it off in order to zoom out and find my target. So give me a second here.
Like I told you, right? Remember that? Anyway, she goes, fine, she goes, I go, damn, baby, look like she goes, oh, good.
Yeah, this was a very strange day for me because, I zoom my camera out here, I get focused on the clouds that are way out there, and then as I get lower to the water and I proceed to locate the bird rack out there, it was really strange. I know I had a good focus on the camera, as you can see, even the boat, but you start looking at these channel markers out there, and they're really being distorted an awful lot. And this is what I noticed that this day, a lot of the stuff out there on the horizon was distorted, and even the bird rack looked totally out of focus, but I know it wasn't out of focus. I did try to even use manual focus in one of the videos. I deleted it because it it didn't get me nowhere. So just even manual focus wasn't working. And also I noticed another thing. Look how small the bird rack looks. And this is the main bird rack that I'm always filming. I was kind of baffled by this. I don't have an explanation for it or why I'm seeing it this small. Maybe that is how small it would be normally, but maybe because of atmospheric lensing, I always get it to where it looks really big. I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing at this. I have a gentleman that's been helping me understand some of the lighting, shading, and helping me out understanding angular resolution, how your camera renders, how our eyes render, and he's been a big help. His name's Richard. I'm not going to mention his last name, um, but he's a very nice guy, nice gentleman. And by him offering me this information and help teaching me some of this stuff, I much appreciate him. Also, I appreciate Curious Life. He's been a big help. Here I added a little bit of light on my compensation exposure, and of course it looks a little bit better. But again, if you looked at that, you could see how much farther out that water actually appears in comparison to some of my other videos. Um, and this is what's really weird, was there a layer or something out there causing this, or is that water, that horizon, right at the verge of mirroring? I don't know. If it was just all atmospheric conditions or what, but you can see how this boat starts to get a little bit of distortion to it as I follow it out. So it's not a focus issue. I found that out real quick by trying to manually focus it. It just wouldn't work. And also, look how high up these boats are from these channel markers. And this channel marker is usually where I get all the mirroring at. After this bird rack is where I get all the mirroring. And also this rack right here, or it's a turn mark. It's a turn point on the channel. That even looks smaller. And I was using the same settings as I was the day before. Nothing changed. So I don't understand why, even the size of the objects were smaller. Boats appeared to be smaller. And like I said, I didn't change anything on the camera settings from the 6 to the 7. They all stayed the same. So I'm kind of like stunned in a way, and maybe Richard can help me understand more of what's going on in here. And if anybody wants to chime in or give me their opinion of it. Here I tried a little shot where I turned compensation exposure down quite a bit to see what I could get in this setting. I didn't leave it here long, but after getting it home on the computer, I said, that might actually have been a better setting to have that compensation turned down for me to catch this. Now I turn it back up, and this is where the fun kind of begins, because I noticed one thing right off the bat is that water line goes much further back, and I'm literally catching the channel markers back there in the actual water, where a lot of times they're elongated. Even this bird rack that's at Hernando Beach is usually long and tall, and it just kind of blows me away that I'm seeing this and even seeing these channel markers more sitting in the water than being mirrored. Usually they're mirrored very heavily, and that's where it's hard to determine where the actual water is meeting these objects. This is getting distorted really bad, but that's another channel marker or bird rack that I usually catch out there. So again, I look at this as being a very strange, mysterious day. Of course, we had the hurricane that was up by Louisiana, and taking its toll on that state. Um, I don't know if it ever made it to a hurricane. I don't watch much news anymore, but you know, I'll find out. It's no real big deal, but could this have had part to do with our very, very high tide? I mean, was this hurricane or tropical storm pushing a a wall of water up, a tidal surge? That's what I think it was more about, why we were getting such as high tide. But um, I'm no expert at anything. I'm mainly, like I say, I'm an observer. I do a lot of observations. Here's the bird rack again. Look how short and squatty it looks. And you can see the other sign next to it. And you can even see the pole that sits beside it, uh, barely to the right of the big bird rack. But normally, I mean, anybody that watches my videos will know that this isn't normal. This isn't normal to all my other videos. So I'm wondering if atmospheric lensing did play a big role in it. So again, anybody can give me an explanation of why I am seeing what I'm seeing in these videos, or why my camera goes from one day to the next where I'm seeing this much further water line out. I think it's because of the mirroring and the miraging effect cuts all of that off from me to where I don't normally see it. Here this particular day I am seeing it. Yes, it's distorted, but that doesn't mean that that water is not there. And I believe that there's more water beyond this too, that this really isn't quite eye level to where I'm standing at. Eye level, I think, would be maybe a little bit higher, but you also got to consider that for every little bit of area out there, as I'm zooming out, is longer and longer. The little shorter pieces are getting longer, just like my board test, squishing and compressing my 7-foot board into a little sliver. Same principle. But we're not. It's depth perception. We're not getting the depth perception because in order to get that, you'd have to go higher in altitude, which doesn't mean I'm going to be looking over any curvature. It just means that I'm going to get a better angular resolution, and my camera is going to be able to render any objects out there better at a higher altitude. So that's something that I'm trying to really, really pay attention to the details in all my videos. So again, if you compare these to some of my other videos, or even right at the beginning of this video, compare that bird rack to the bird rack that you see here. It's a totally different view of it. So again, is it atmospheric lensing that I'm getting on most days, and this day I'm not getting that atmospheric lensing? This is a really good question that I would have to ask, Richard, or even Curious Life, of, why am I catching it at this rate, at this size? Again, geez, I gotta probably get ready here soon to go eat dinner at my wife's aunt's house, and I really wanted to pretty much finish up this video, but I guess I'm not going to be able to completely finish it. So I'll have to probably try to finish it when I get back. Hopefully it isn't all messed up. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. This part right here is really, really interesting. And I've got to say that I've never caught water over the top of this land strip. This is to the south of me, and I decided that, hey, it's a high tide and I'm getting this really excellent zoom. I'm just curious if I could catch anything over the tops of this land strip. I've tried it before in the past and was never able to really get anything because everything behind this was all like whited out. Could not see any land, there was nothing visible back behind this. Couldn't see boats, couldn't see rocks. All I saw was basically the whiteout that you see right now above it. But wait, you'll see some water here behind it. I even catch the channel markers, and like I say, it's really hard for me to explain some things sometimes because I'm not really sure why I should even be able to see this. In normal circumstances, I normally would not see it. So again, what am I looking at? What am I seeing? Why am I seeing this? These are really great questions, and I'm hoping that somebody can give me the answers for it. I've researched a lot of things about light, water. Geez, I mean, I could go on and on and on the things that I've researched. Plus, I'm in the business of water, so I know a lot about the properties of water and how it works, how it moves. So I personally cannot give an explanation to why I am seeing this. And I'm not going to say that it's refraction, this magical force pulling these items up, or these channel markers, these rocks, these little islands out there, these little rocks that I see, rock piles. It's not magically popping it up over the curvature of Earth. It cannot be. It can't. Now I'm going to go back to the natural audio and let it play out from there. Normally I cannot see that water over there either. I'm going to move on down the line to see if I can bring some thumbs up. I think right there almost in the middle of the screen's a marker. For the wind. Channel markers. Look at that.
And about 300 other dudes just like me. work.
Man,
Because
talk
you'll
about
be
big mouths.
free and protected if we're growing crops and we're doing eco stuff. Listen, we're like being self-sufficient action. We have underground action on the mountains. You can't get any better than that. I'm like a patriot. I'm the ultimate patriot, just like all my
Normally I
buddies who
cannot
love
see
President
this.
Trump.
Wow.
I had that in a log one time where somebody said, I got this, and I said, I'll never grow up. Yeah, I have to. I know that's my special skill. I wouldn't actually deal with it. I retired. You go into the Air Force, get your training, and you fly with contractors, and still working the same thing. You have different rules of engagement. I used to have to sell some assets along the way. Right. Go ahead. I don't know. I just thought it meant like haul ass.
And I cannot focus it, manually focused or not. I cannot get any better of a focus out of this. That's crazy. I'm not sure. It's supposed to be like till 4:15. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting here right on, I mean,
Right at the line.
yeah, it's right at the edge of the seawall, man. I mean, that's pretty awesome to see. Actually, it's awesome that I can catch boats on the other side of that land over there. Yeah.
I told you I got it.
Yeah, airboat going right over the road. Look at that. Wow.
Then he goes up through the other side and he crosses the road up there.
That's crazy.
Then a Mercedes went through here.
Yeah.
I was like, I got a picture. I was looking at the one I had before, and he started coming out. Man, took a picture of it.
I putted across the road. I didn't try to haul
I went
ass.
through that, but being in the little Mercedes with the airboat was pretty neat because I was like, yeah, let me say, I was waiting to see somebody had to be funny to come through there. That's what it was. All right, have fun.
Yeah, you too, man.
I have to show you that.
I appreciate it. Something you don't normally see. This is something you don't normally see either. Damn it, the wind would just quit blowing. You can never see water over this edge. But there it is. And I am standing right on the edge. Matter of fact, I'm going to get my phone out and take a small video. And, you know, my camera is approximately 5.5 feet tall. I'm going to walk up here and try to focus in on this and show you that that water is well above that land over there. And you normally do not see this because of all the light and refraction. It just kills that. But also, look at our sky. Our sky is really... There you go. I'm going to walk up here and try to focus in on this and show you that that water is well above that land over there. And you normally do not see this because of all the light and refraction. It just kills that. But also, look at our sky. Our sky is really quite a bit of overcast right now. My phone just ran out of storage space, by the way. I knew I should have downloaded that crap on my computer last night off my phone. But I'm going to scour this edge again here for you. See if I can pick up another boat out there or channel markers or something. I got a better focus than the last part of the video. Channel marker sign for Hernando Beach. Look at that. There's some rocks out there in the Hernando Beach channel, or an island. That's one of the islands I think I get on. Well, I'm just going to keep it on that spot. I'm just going to let it sit there. I never get this. I never get this kind of a shot. Thing is see if a boat goes by. More boats. Or see if the sun comes out, if it changes it. How high would you say my camera is off the water? About 5.5 feet. Okay. Just curious.
Why, you waiting to see how far?
Well, this is a 83 times zoom camera.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking over the land over there and see an island on the other side of in Hernando Beach.
And you're waiting for it to get covered up in water.
Well, it's quite covered quite a bit. But I normally never get to see this because usually it's all whited out, the whole background, and I never get to see the water above that.
You're saying.
You see this little black spot here? That's an island, and then there's water here, and then there's that island over there. That's one of the islands coming out of Hernando Beach.
What the hell is that? I'm trying to figure out where that's at.
See the one palm tree sticking up right here in that island, the closest island to us, the dead one to the right. I'm right in that little spot right there. Believe it or not, it's just a tiny little spot. I mean, try and zoom out. Show you where I'm at.
Oh, I see it. That one stick
Yeah.
sticking up. And now zoom it back in. How the hell did you do that?
83 times zoom camera.
It's a little shaky because you kind of get in there.
Yeah, it does get shaky because it's such a long zoom.
Yep, there's that island.
Yeah. And I took it a
That's
little bit
really
off.
good.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Well, by science, I shouldn't even be able to see that. That's just way too far for
Can you
us
take
to
a
see.
picture of it too?
I don't think a picture would come out because of the way that it's shaking so much. It'd just be a blurry picture. I'm actually surprised that I'm able to get this.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's one heck of a zoom.
Wow. Jeez.
And what might work out better is if I use my cell phone to take a picture of it, of my screen.
Good idea. That would work. Holy cow.
How far are you guys expecting this to come up? This guy's taking film on the camera. What are you looking at? Is he a bird watcher?
No.
I think the birds are watching him.
You watching the water? The tide?
Well, I'm watching an island on the other side of that land over in Hernando Beach. I'm looking at an island in Hernando Beach, waiting for a boat to go by it.
Oh.
I'm going to see what the tide is.
It's not good right now.
It's the highest I've seen it in a long time.
Yeah, how much, you say?
We're right at the top of the tide, and it's a 3.11 high tide. Actually, early this morning, it was even higher than that. Yeah, it was almost 3.5 foot this morning.
Is it getting bigger right now? Because that storm's coming right through there right now.
No, it should be starting to go out right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was, let's see, when it was high tide, it was at 3:20 a.m. this morning. And like I said, it was actually a 3.6 high tide this morning. So I imagine that there was probably water up to the parking lot here.
That's cool. You see it over there, yeah. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, if you try to go out to Pine Island, you got to go through water.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah, I went through slow, but everybody else was hauling ass, splashing their undercarriage.
And you don't know what's in there. You don't know what you're running through.
Nah, and I won't do it anyhow because I don't want to ruin the undercarriage and have it all rusted out.
Oh, yeah. Salt water too.
Yeah. These people were just flying through it like they didn't care, so.
Probably from up north. But they got, you got snow up there too. It's the same thing. Snow and salt does the same thing to your undercarriage.
Yep.
You know, but you go through here, it's gonna, if you don't clean it out right when you go through it, you're in trouble.
Oh yeah. I just wish the wind wasn't shaking so bad. Give me a real shaky film, but every now and then it stops shaking, so that's good. Oh, I'm definitely getting the best zoom I got so far on here.
You don't set it to channel 13 there?
Nah, they wouldn't do nothing with it.
Don't even try pie 9.
I'm gonna try it again here. Oh, there it went. Oh, nice. Actually, I don't know what that is. That could be the condos down there in, holy crap, it could be. Yeah, condos in Hudson Beach. Nope, them are rocks. Them are rocks sticking up. Hopefully it don't go by and wake the camera off. try to get another zoom and go back to that island that I seen, or the rock pile. Excuse me?
What are you photographing?
A very long, far off distant object. Actually filming on the other side of those, all those islands. There's a little spot there that I'm catching a rock pile over in Hernando Beach that normally I can never see.
What's your zoom on that?
83 times. It's got an 83 times zoom.
I had one camera with a 50 times zoom on it, and I went to Yellowstone with it. They kept offering me binoculars. I'm like, nope, I'm good. I'm good. I can see.
Yeah, this is way better than a pair of binoculars.
And then when I played it back at night, because I was doing videos and stuff with it, they were like, are you kidding me? It was like I was right on top of the buffalo and everything. It was great.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've actually got the rings of Saturn with this camera. Science says it's 746 million miles away. Oh, wow. Oh, man. Damn it. That was absolutely beautiful.
Last time I was here, there was manatees in the front and dolphins jumping in the back. And I've seen otters playing in here. I never know what I'm going to find on the
And just before I hit the button, it flew away.
Yeah, that car was coming in. It scared me. Never seen it.
Yeah, I wonder where actually that's going to wind up heading. Yeah, the European one said it was going to maybe hit go more closer to the panhandle. That's, you can't predict where they go, actually. Yeah, we were fortunate enough as soon as we landed, it kind of disintegrated. Because otherwise, you know, if it would have came right up the coast, it would have tore this area up. Yeah, they've claimed it as theirs, which is alright. I'm sure the snook and redfish are loving this high tide because they're able to get back up in there with all the little fish are hiding. They're probably having a feast. I was actually going to go out fishing today, but we called it off because you know, these storms can blow up on you like that. And unless I'm fishing close to a, you know, a dock or a boat ramp, I personally don't want to get caught out there in a lightning storm. I've been out there caught in a lightning storm. It's not fun. An 18-foot aluminum Duracraft. Yeah, you don't want to be caught in that. You don't want to be caught in any boat out there. I don't care how big it is. You get struck by lightning, it's just going to do damage. Period. I'd be doing a time lapse of the sun right now. Maybe I'll do that next. Yeah, that's actually, I put my GoPro camera down there to hopefully catch some fish jumping right out here in front.
That little thing is a camera?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a little GoPro camera.
Things smaller and smaller these days.
They got, I read an article where they got a camera that just so small it's pitiful.
Oh, somebody's right in front of your cameras here.
What it tells you is you could be, well, you know, all these smart TVs have a built-in camera in them for people playing those, what is it, like the PlayStation, I forget the other one, but where they can play against other people, other places, in different locations. Well, they have cameras built into them.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, and your smart TVs have cameras built into those. Where they, I mean, you could be sitting there watching TV and Big Brother could be watching you.
Don't like that.
No, but it's actual fact that Big Brother's always watching. Wow, look at the color in that sky. And with a polarizer on it, that really stands out. Matter of fact, I think that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my solar lens and put it on there and do a zoom back and do a time lapse of the sun. Glad these other people that look at the lap, man. That wind. Well, you probably know when you got a hell of a zoom, you know, any little bit of movement just shakes the heck out of everything. Even if you got a stabilizer on it. I wanted to get a big gimbal for my camera. They're quite a pretty penny. Actually, for my own science research. Well, you know, science says a man standing 6 foot tall on the shore can only see like 3.7 miles out. Well, a zoom camera, you'll watch a boat and you'll swear to God it's went over the curvature of Earth, but I can zoom out with this camera and catch it. It's still in the water. And then we got to take into consideration our perspective. As an object moves away, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, you've got what they call a lot of diffraction or refraction out there, and a mirage actually occurs, and that mirage is what hides anything beyond our visual eyesight, because our eyes can't render it. And it even happens with cameras. To a certain point, the camera can't render it. Now, I've been out here many times, and I've never been able to catch water over the top of this landmass here. But here I'm able to, and I've even caught boats going by, and usually it's all whited out, which you can't see. And Hernando Beach is quite a few miles away from us right now. So I kind of question a lot of what I was taught in science. Even though people say, ah, you're stupid. Well, we should always question everything that we're told to believe without good physical, solid proof. But, you know, you could be a good parrot and just go along with everything, and, you know, hey, you can become a teacher if you can just parrot everything really well. What's that? Well, you've heard of the theory of gravity, right? The theory of gravity is exactly that. It's still a theory. It's never been proven. It's called buoyancy and density. You know, an object that's lighter than air will float. An object that's heavier than air will fall. I mean, it's pretty common sense, but you know, we're taught in school as gravity is a physical force that keeps us sucked to the ground. But if Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, you got what they call centrifugal force. Why do they call it sea level? Shouldn't it be called sea curve? Shouldn't it be called sea curve? See, you can't render nothing out any farther past that visible water that you see with your eyes, but there's water actually beyond that. Because I track boats coming right out of here that go out, and when they get past that visible water, they don't go over it, they go above it. Why? Because they're riding on top of water. It's not that there's any kind of refraction or magical force pulling it up on the back side of the curve. So, again, I used my own observations for my own research and my own studies. I do a lot of other research as far as planets, distance to planets, distance to stars, and you know, they use what they call mathematical or math magicians. They're math magicians is what they are. They give you all these math equations and whatnot, and only a handful of people can figure it out. And the reason why is because you can't figure it out. Because it's not true. They tell you this to get you to believe science. And science really pulls us away from creation. You know, evolution. We evolved from a single cell amoeba, multiplied, multiplied and mutated, and eventually we walked upon the shores, we grew legs, and we were an ape, and then we became a man. Bullshit on all that. I'm not a Bible thumper, but I believe in creation, and I believe that we were created for a purpose, and science pulls us all away from that. I met this lady that she went to Catholic school, and she said she was confused because she goes, I'd go to one class and they said, you know, the Bible part, and they'd say, oh, well, you know, God created us in the image of Him. But then she goes, I turn around and go to the science part, and they say, no, we were formed as a single cell amoeba, and we multiplied, you know, went through all of that, and then we were an ape, and then we were a man. And she goes, man, I was just totally confused. I said, well, you should go by your own common senses. And know that can't be true. I just don't see it that way. But, you know, science will say, oh, religion is just a bunch of bullcrap. Well, I think part of it is, I think the Bible's been hijacked. But I think that there's truth in it. But it all depends on how you interpret it. Now look at the light hitting the water over there. Yeah, I'm hoping I can maybe zoom in on it here. See if I can lower my camera down. I got a good focus. Try to find that bird right down there. Instead of going all the way down. That's distortion. Wow.
Last time a boat went by, it was way above the wall. Want my camera to get step over.
Pretty tight, see, he will pull that right out of your hands.
Yeah, really.
You got it? Just gotta wind them up. When you turn this, you're pulling them in.
Slowly.
He's a big one, huh?
See, you're the surfing
It's awful nice of them.
Okay, he's running. There he comes across.
Play them, play them. That's it, work them. Oh, hang on to that pole. I love watching little kids fish. It's amazing how much fun they get out of it.
You let go, you let go. That happens sometimes.
Oh, he got away.
See what it was.
Hey, there ain't many boats out there. Well, I know why though. I mean, usually any smart boater wouldn't go out on a day like today. I mean, you know, average sized boat would. It's windy. It can beat you up. She did good though. There's a lot of distortion out there in that water. Something fierce. Let's see. Yeah, normally right out at this one marker, everything past it is just all mirror. It just mirrors the sky. But for some reason, this particular day, I'm able to actually see the water beyond it. Oh, there is a boat out there. I can't see him, but there's a boat out there. Now I got a good camera.
I see your legs are short. What do you know, you're not going to get wet now or what?
Yeah, I mean, it was getting wet way up here earlier. The water was coming over the seawall. Yeah, I'm really trying to see that boat with my own eyes too, and I can't see it. Did you go down by Pine Island?
Well, we went just probably, halfway to 3/4 miles off the Bayport.
Yeah.
Bayport in.
Yeah.
Blowing right across.
Yeah, real fast too.
Yeah.
I took some video of it.
Did you?
Yeah.
That was a turnaround point.
I drove through it, but I went real slow, so I wouldn't splash the undercarriage.
Yeah.
But there was cars just flying through it. I'm like, you guys are going to ruin your cars. You know, all that salt water going up underneath it.
Yep.
That's right. You ain't going there.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. You can't see that boat out. I mean, from where I'm at, you cannot see that boat. That's about what I see right there. If that.
No, I know I was off. I actually went to Pine Island, but it was all flooded too. We actually were going to do the shoot.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. We came in here because they couldn't get through.
Yeah, it wasn't something that you really wanted to drive through
No,
anyhow.
I know. Even with my Jeep, I was, oh my god. Because I actually drove back and forth because I was meeting them there. But luckily it's my Jeep, so I'm like, okay. But I didn't want to drive back through there.
Nah, the salt will eat your undercarriage up. It's worse than being up north in the salted roads.
Yeah. So it even came over here to the water?
Oh, it was up over the seawall.
Yeah.
Especially if a boat went by and waked. It was. I about got soaked right here. Matter of fact, my battery bag did get wet. I'm glad it didn't get my batteries wet though.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
Yeah, it's 83 times zoom on it, so I can really get some awesome zoom out of it.
Yeah, and you have that little thing we had down here, right?
Yeah, this opens up and actually gets real real short. I can take it down to 2 feet.
Right. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, what do we got? Right. We got a solar filter on here for the sun.
Oh wow.
That looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
See all the clouds going in front of it.
That's really cool. I hope you got some good pictures.
Yeah, I hope y'all did too. I seen you over there.
We did, yeah, too. It worked out. And I found a about a new location. I never even knew about this spot. I always go to Pine Island. I never
Yeah.
knew about this. So
There's another little park down here. If you take a left,
yeah,
it
okay.
takes you to another little park over
Okay,
there.
cool. If Pine's not so crowded and you have to pay, this is all free. Yeah.
Yeah, us boaters have to pay for this. I do a lot of fishing, and I get a little upset because it's like we wind up paying for all the park.
Well, it should be free for you guys too then.
Yeah, either that or, just say everybody pay $1 each,
Yeah.
It'd make it nice for everybody then.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's something I might want to try.
Okay, this was a 10-minute time lapse that I did. I wanted to see what kind of changes there would be in just this 10 minutes of doing this time lapse with the sun coming in and out of the clouds. And you can definitely see a difference in it. Sorry about the shake. It was very windy. Even though I had my tripod set real low to the ground, the wind still was affecting it. Then during the day here, I saw this eagle. I tried to catch him when he landed on the ground, but you see the car coming behind him scared him off and spooked him. So he started flying away, but I was able to get that picture, this picture, and one other picture of him. Actually, it was a beautiful bird when it was on the ground. I was trying to zoom in on him and get this picture, but like I said, that car just spooked him away. So I was able to catch him a little bit. Would have been nice to get him a nice close-up shot. If I wouldn't have been using my camera on the time lapse, I might have been able to get a better picture of him. And then I wanted to stay longer and do the sunset from Bayport, but I had things to do at home. I had to get back here. My wife was coming home, and I had to get back to feed the dogs and do my little chores at the end of the day. So I came home, set my camera up, and did this from my backyard with a solar filter on it, I do believe. So I hope you enjoyed my video. I know it ain't for everybody, but like, subscribe, and share, and thanks for watching.